Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this live episode of Think Business. Looking forward to having two guests today, and we're kicking today's session off with Thomas Kim. Like every session on Think Business Live, my goal to you is to bring you entrepreneurs and who share their story, give you insights to how they got unstuck and grew their business. As many of you know, I'm a business coach and I work with people to get them unstuck. So I love talking to people, learning their story and hearing all about. Thomas, great to connect with you. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Thomas. He's the CEO at EverClean. They're a modern car wash experience, keeping cars always clean, delivering unlimited washes at the club. And they believe that a clean car is a luxury everyone can enjoy all the time. I want to dive into that because I love that business model. But you're also an entrepreneur and investor of real estate and small businesses.
That's right.
Thomas, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here. So let's start here. I want to talk about the entrepreneur of today, right? So you're an entrepreneur and investor. You focus on real estate and small businesses. But as an entrepreneur today, there's a couple different layers I want to look at. But what are you looking for as an entrepreneur today? And the reason I ask is, pre-COVID studies showed that by the year 2020, 85% of the jobs that exist don't exist today. And I think COVID accelerated that 5-6 years. And so the entrepreneur looking at a small business, even a year ago today, before COVID really hit, I think is a lot different. So as an entrepreneur, what are you looking at or for?
I think it's a few things at this stage for me. It's I'm looking to meet an unmet need, but it also has to have some scale to it where it can make an impact at an industry-wide level. Part of the reason I got into car washing is because it's an $11 billion industry. Average driver can't name a single brand. And so I just saw an opportunity that was bigger than a single location, and it's got to be able to make money. But probably the most exciting thing for me is I'm not in this space because I'm fascinated with car washes. What's really cool about this space for me is that we're also meeting a social need. So our social mission is to enrich lives through opportunity and holistic mentorship. Most of our guys are a little bit lost in life, and no more lost than a white collar employee. It's just not masked with all the ambition and achievement. Yeah. And so I'm looking for that kind of mix of things, and I've found that in the car wash space.
I love that. I want to talk about a little bit about scaling a business and profitability. I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss this, oddly, which is, how do I scale my business, and how do I measure profitability? And so what are some of the key indicators as a business owner that you look at, or as an entrepreneur looking at somebody else's business, as to, how profitable and scalable they are? As I say that, I just want to share one story. One of my favorite series of shows are The Men That Built America, The Cars That Built America, and The Food That Built America on the History Channel. And they have season 2 of The Food That Built America. I don't know if you've watched it, but they had the Burger Wars. So they had the Burger Wars on yesterday. And and so the two guys who had Burger King, the one business partner goes, before he bought in, he's like, you said you were making a 20-some% profit. You're losing 76%. You have a 76% loss. And really he had no clue. And so they decided, and that was kind of the beginning of their journey of Burger King. But I think, you had two business owners, one saying, hey, we have a 26% profit, and the other one saying, hey, you got a 76% loss, give or take the numbers. I can't remember exactly what they were. And so talk a little bit about that, because I think making money, as you said, and profitability is really important. And then we can move into, how they scale.
Well, prior to being in the car wash space, I was investing in a lot of technology companies. And what I couldn't wrap my brain around, and it's other people much smarter than me can do it, but around the idea of just having these losses over a number of years, hoping and banking on that moment to come when you'll actually be profitable. And there's certainly a space for that. For me, I wanted something that I could wrap my brain around, a little more common sense. I wanted low ticket, high volume business. So I don't have all of my risk hedged in just several key customers where,
Uh-huh.
if a gigantic conglomerate walked away, then we're done and we're folded. I mean, for us, if we have one customer walk away, we'll fight tooth and nail for that customer, but if they walk away, we're okay. For us, profitability, we have high fixed costs, and just because we have this facility, we can't downsize or shorten or lengthen the tunnel based on how busy things are. So for us, we have high fixed costs, and then we're trying to drive volume because our fixed costs get subsidized over a larger number of customers, which makes it more profitable the more customers we have. And so for us, we look at our metrics every single day. We have a daily report come out for every single location on all of the key metrics that we've defined. And that might include actual car counts, the number of memberships, the new signups, total revenue, profitability, labor per car, cost per car, all those things. We're releasing that every single day and then reviewing where we're at so that we can act on a lead indicator rather than a lag indicator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk about that, because I think it's always good reminder of what a leading versus a lagging indicator is. I think a lot of times people get lost in working on lagging indicators all day. I see that a lot in my coaching business. It's like people are working on their secondary to-dos and their secondary critical, items, but they're ignoring kind of those, really important leading indicators that are critical, specific, and measurable.
Yeah. I was actually just reading a book by Andy Grove talking about how entrepreneurs tend to act very quick. They'll act on leading indicators of good news, but lagging indicators of bad news. And his explanation is that entrepreneurs are just hardwired to be optimists. And so one of the things that we do is we'll look at our actual reports, kind of look at what's in the pipeline and what kinds of things do we need to do in our business. We have a meeting every single week with the executive team to look at those types of things. And we want to make sure of is that we're not by the time we act that it's not too late. And so we'll take a look at all kinds of indicators that are kind of on the front end. What do we think is signal versus what do we think is noise? And make sure we're differentiating the two.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And what are one of the things that you see as noise that you have to kind of get people alignment to kind of ignore the noise and or stay away from, the next shiny object? I think that's another issue that entrepreneurs get stuck into. They're comparing themselves to other people, and so they get lost in shiny objects instead of staying the course of their focus.
Yeah. So a lot of the car wash industry, which may or may not be important for their businesses, they talk a lot about car counts. They'll talk a lot about how many people came in. For us, we focus on our memberships, and we look at customer satisfaction. We know that if we can rule the day in customer satisfaction, we know we're going to be okay. We can, if we are the best service out there, and I encourage people to look us up on Google reviews, and we know that for us is a leading indicator that we're going to be okay. We might just have to tweak things. No matter how much money we're making, if our reviews and our customer satisfaction is going down, if our memberships are going down, retention's going down, that's bad news for us.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're talking about because, like you said, you're looking at your metrics every single day. And so I want to talk a little bit about the power of when you look at your metrics every day. And I feel like I'm talking to clients about this all the time. Then you can look at trends and then you can forecast effectively. And I find a lot of times many entrepreneurs are looking at the day or the week, but they're not looking 3-6 months out. And that to me is absolutely a critical thing to look at your trends and then use those to predict the future, especially as forecasting out revenue, because we're talking about scaling. You can't scale unless you can forecast and project revenue effectively. Yeah.
And trends are so important with the forecasting. If things are hard but you're trending well, then you have something to look forward to. If If you're doing great, but you're trending down, I mean, that's a bad sign. You should not feel good about it. So absolutely agree with you on that.
Let's talk about being an entrepreneur. Are people born an entrepreneur, or can you become an entrepreneur? Is it in your blood, or can you just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to, I'm going to be an entrepreneur today?
I think there is a mix for sure of nature, nurture. I think if someone is born somewhat pessimistic and cynical, being an entrepreneur can be tough. People who are wired that way tend to avoid entrepreneurship just because there's so many risks. For me, I can tell you my story. I was not the guy who started a lemonade stand when he was 5 and raised enough money to pay for college. That was not me. But what I did have, even as a kid, was I loved working on fascinating projects, just finding something cool and then rallying a whole bunch of people around it to try to make it happen. And a lot of times there wasn't even money tied to it. That aspect of me, I think, has been vital since childhood. So that was kind of the nature part of it. The nurture part, grew up without a dad. He left when I was 7. And it just meant as a latchkey kid, I took on a ton of responsibility as a kid. Anything that I really wanted to have happen, I had to figure it out and just sort my way through it. That nurture side I use every single day as I go about the business.
Yeah. What was that? What type of seeds were planted when you're 6 years old, going through that kind of gave you the hustle and the drive and the direction that you have today?
One had to just be watching my mom. She worked 3 part-time jobs with little to no alimony, would wake up and leave before we got up and would come home after we went to bed. And so we would go days without seeing her. It's hard to be a lazy kid when your mom's like that.
Yeah.
And she's slaving. I mean, it's just hard to be a troublemaker that's going to add more stress to a mother who's already stressed.
Yeah.
So that was one of the seeds. I think the second was I remember, John, the first light bulb I ever changed. And nobody ever taught me to do that.
Yeah.
So I just went, how do I get this out? And started, it spins out, right? And then putting the new light bulb, and it's the cliche-ish when it turned on. I didn't even know to turn off the light switch, until I actually had one explode on me. But even that, I learned so many things just by experience.
Yeah.
And literal light bulbs going on in my head, and the fun, as well as the faith to believe, you know what, I could probably figure this out. I might break something, but it's going to be okay, and I'll figure it out. I think that seed of, hey, it's okay to try things and break things, and I've done that my whole life. I think that seed has been vital for me growing up. I would not have done well with a helicopter parent. I would not be the same man today. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of helicopter parents today, that's for sure. The picture in the Carnegie picture, the steel picture of the men in your back sitting on, that's one of my favorite pictures of all time. And if you've watched The Men That Built America, they show that scene where the guys are, so many stories up in the air, having lunch and coffee on that beam, and how scary it is, and how they risk their lives because of what they were doing every day. That's a powerful. What does that picture mean to you?
So this lunch atop a skyscraper, for me, these men are much braver than I am, but I think it represents it represents what I'm living more or less every day, which I live in this world of fascination and building. There are some risks and danger, but I'm having a great time with a team doing that. With a bunch of friends. That when I look at that, when my wife sees that, she gets afraid. Right? When I look at that, it just calls something out of me, and it's more or less what I'm doing every single day.
Yeah, it's the same with me. I love that picture, and it's one of my favorite pictures of all time. And it motivates me, it inspires me, it makes me feel gratitude, humility. I love that picture. I want to talk to you before I go into a quick speed round about, you have an MBA from the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business.
right.
BS in engineering from the University of Illinois. And I want to talk about just college today. I'm a big fan of college. My son's 18. He's going to college. He's going to IU. But I also think college is so expensive for the average person today. You put on an MBA on top of that, and if you don't come from means or get a scholarship, you can walk out of college and an MBA with $250,000+ of debt, and that's assuming you go in state.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include law school or medical school. And today you've got the Googles of the world doing, kind of certifications. You've got trade schools where people can really learn a lot and get right into the scheme of things. And so, again, I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of college, but I also know the financial strap it can put on many, many people. What's your take on college and MBA today versus just getting in the trenches and making stuff happen?
I think it depends on what you're trying to go for. I can say that for me, getting my MBA, I actually felt a little stuck. I was managing a team of 24 engineers, and I was 29 years old, trying to manage 24 people. I was the youngest guy on the team, or maybe second youngest on the team. And I actually sensed that I did not have all the training I'd gotten to that point would not be able to carry me forward. And I needed a new set of tools. That was one of the motivations for going to business school. And I think it was necessary for me. Generally speaking, I think that more men and women who are in that age group can consider alternatives than they do. I'm not one of those guys that's going to poo-poo on college across the board, but I think there are alternatives, and I think it's the cost of universities is becoming higher and higher, and then the benefits of alternative methods also growing. So with that equation changing, I think there's more that people can consider. At EverClean, we actually are very much an alternate path to going to college. Guys come in, they start with us at minimum wage, and within 12 to 18 months, after they go through our leadership development program, they can be opening a new location, making a decent salary, 401k, 99% medical coverage, and they're actually recruiting and developing their own team, being empowered with leadership skills that they normally might not get till they're in their 30s and middle management. One example, the person who opened our location in Arlington Heights literally hired every single person, worked on recruiting all the members, running the grand opening, 19 years old. He started with us when he was 17, and he is a leader of leaders now.
Good for him. Good for him, and good for you. Good for him, and good for you for setting up the structure and the framework to empower, all of these people that can do so well and do so well not only financially, but also with dignity and with great character. I love it. All right, you ready for a quick speed round, Thomas?
All right, let's do it.
Before we bring up Anne Gannon, all right, who's a principal at Largo Group. We're doing 2 guests today. It's the first time on Think Business Live that we've done 2 guests at different companies. Favorite book and why?
The Power of Full Engagement is what's coming to mind.
Great book.
It revolutionized the way I think about not only work, but also rest.
Yeah, I love it. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Probably a favorite quote of mine by a guy named John Newton. It says, paraphrasing, I'm not what I want to be. I'm not what I ought to be, but I'm not what I was. And by the grace of God, I am what I am.
That's good. That's great. That's great. And this is the last question I have. Finish this sentence. One thing every entrepreneur needs to do today in 2021 is?
Initiate a difficult conversation.
Yeah, I love it. Tell everybody how they can connect with you and, any contact information you want to give, Thomas.
Website is evercleancw.com. We are, all of our handles across social media are the same. It's evercleancw.com. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn, DM me. We are always hiring, and we're about to raise a new round of capital next month. So if any of those fit you, feel free to reach out.
I love it. Hey, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show today. Your story is great. I love the energy, your backstory, everything that you shared about metrics, profitability, scalability, being an entrepreneur, the nurture, the nature, what the lunch on top of a skyscraper meant, and kudos to you for everything that you're doing in your business and for your people to evolve them. I'm a big fan that the same level of consciousness that got us to where we are will not get us to where we want to be. And you're doing a great job raising everybody's consciousness to be and the best they can be and reach their potential. So, Thomas, I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks so much.
So kind of you, John. Thank you for having me.
Let's for sure keep in touch. And now we're going to introduce my second guest, Anne Gannon, on the show, who's a principal at the Largo Group. Anne, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I truly enjoyed hearing Thomas's story. So
yeah, wasn't it great?
It was awesome.
Thomas, you're happy to stick around if you want, but we're going to focus a little bit more on Anne.
Please do. I'll stop my camera.
If you want, you can actually co-host with me right now, and you can ask your questions. Feel free to stay; it'll be fun.
I'll let the professional do what you do best.
All right, Thomas. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon. All right, thanks, man.
Sounds good.
All right, Anne Gannon, welcome to the show. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Principal at the Largo Group, founded by you in 2016. After 15 years of experience, beginning your career as a CPA with a Big Five accounting firm in Boston. Vision of your company is to offer a methodical approach to accounting and tax services so that the business owner has the key information they need in real time. One of my favorite things is the whole real time comment. I love real time. Most people, are in, behind real time. And so let's start here though. So you're in accounting and, I think everybody knows, I shouldn't say everybody, but most people know you need an accountant and an attorney, right? And then some people haven't, wealth managers and things of that nature, but an accountant to me is one of the most important people in your personal network. And so why should everybody have an accountant versus do everything in QuickBooks themselves?
Yeah, so I really think our story is very similar in a lot of ways to Thomas's in that, that whole idea of measuring yourself daily, measuring your business daily, that really is our innovative approach. So it is very similar to a lot of what he has in practice every day is sort of what we try to provide our clients, those that maybe are not as analytical as Thomas with his MBA, but still know that they need to know what their business is doing and not wait for the lagging indicator of I'm going to look at my P&L from last month, because in a lot of ways that's too late. Yeah. So really what our philosophy is we provide our clients a weekly update. So here's your last week, here's where it was, here's sort of your key metrics of, we deal with a lot of restaurants. So cost of goods sold is a big number, labor is a big number, but that way they're not waiting 30 days to do anything and change it, and lose money in the meantime. So really that is our philosophy, is to be much more integrated than the traditional accounting relationship. Because, when I was working at a big firm, one of the reasons my motivation to start the Largo Group was the fact that, you're looking at someone's return from last year. I mean, that's, at least 12 months, if not 18 months behind, depending on when they decide to file. And at that point, I mean, they don't even really care what the numbers are. There's no chance to really interact and give, strategies because it's stale information. So in order for the tax return to be meaningful, I mean, we really have to be engaged and involved every week to know what's happening so that we can provide strategies and advice, based on today.
Yeah. And so talk about that. So run down that, dive deeper into that as far as, the metrics, the internal guts that every company needs to know on a regular basis. I mean, I feel like I'm talking to my accountant. I've had the same account. I'm going to be 49 this year. I've had the same account since I was 23 years old. And I feel like I talk to them all the time about the guts that, I mean, they just, they know how to look at it. There's no surprises. And so what are some of the things that people should be on top of that they're not? What are some of those biggest pitfalls?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is setting up a strategy for cash flow. I think as entrepreneurs,
Which, if you don't, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you don't have cash flow, you can't run your business.
No, I know.
Okay, right.
But yet most entrepreneurs, sort of what Tom
They run it kind of tight.
Well, and they hate to look at cash flow because there's a lot of fear there. And they're, I just don't want to know what's in the bank account, or I'd rather look at revenue than cash flow. And in reality, if we don't have a weekly checklist for our cash flow, we can't make the best decisions because we don't know how much is in there today, how much is going to be in there a week from now, and it can just be this guessing game. So I think the biggest thing you really should be doing is centering your information around cash flow. And then from there, a lot of what Thomas was saying is true, those leading indicators versus the lagging indicators. So what is revenue last week compared to the week before? Is there anything I can pick out there in terms of trends in my customers? I mean, I love how we had like car counts, for restaurants, same thing, like ticket counts. I mean, the more you dig into the data, there's so much there that can be a predictor of what is going to happen next week or next month, and what can I do to make it better. I think if we're looking only at lagging in terms of, well, I'm going to wait till the P&L, is last quarter, there you just miss those opportunities to jump on the trends.
I want to talk about, I want to dive deeper into that because, when you're talking about leading and lagging indicators, and and you were behind stage while we were talking, Thomas and I, but so, the forecasting is so critical, 3, 6, 9, 12 months out, depending on your industry, maybe even longer. And I see this as a business coach all the time, man. People are not forecasting out and then reverse engineering how they need to look at everything, and then not looking at the headwinds and the obstacles that those headwinds could be. Because if you're not doing that, then all of a sudden, when you get a COVID like last year in March, it just knocks you off and knocks you over because you haven't even looked at any headwinds appropriately. And so, and if you don't have the cash flow sitting there in your savings, then you're in real trouble. They always, the save for a rainy day type of thing. So just kind of talk about the power of forecasting and all of that.
Well, and I definitely think that, you're 100% right that the COVID experience has changed that. But really what I've seen is, the businesses that are able to, whether they call it forecasting or not, but are really looking to the next month or the next 3 months. Those are the ones that have been able to pivot in COVID to really say, okay, what do I need my revenue to be? I don't care where it comes from yet. I'll get there. But what is my top line I need to break even, to keep paying myself, all of those key questions, and then forecast that out to say, all right, if I need to bring in 10 grand a week, I just got to go figure it out. But I know what that number is, versus you have other entrepreneurs who said, well, it's so unpredictable. I'm just going to wait until things get clear before I build a budget. Because why am I going to build a budget or a forecast? Because every week is different. And I feel like those two different mindsets have really triggered like who's been able to pivot and do well versus the ones that are kind of in this like stuck feeling, waiting for, well, I'll just wait till, the weeks are more back to normal. And in reality, normal really isn't coming. And so, as we get into 2021, one of the things that I'm seeing now, which is, really cool for the ones that are able to do it. And I know that it's a struggle. So it's not saying that it's easy, but really saying, even 2021, we don't know because you have PPP and you have all these other things and you might have more cash, but you don't have a sustainable business yet because of restrictions. I have some clients who are like, forget 2021. Let's just start with 2022 and like work backwards.
Seriously.
And I think that actually is a really good mindset to say, where am I going to be at the end of all this? And then work back into the decisions and the things I do today to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's talk about you, the business owner. You have a business that you started on your own. Tell us a little bit of that backstory and how we got to here.
Yeah. So I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur. He actually his business failed. So as a kid, I always knew, I grew up with like all of like the Zig Ziglars and all of that.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
So, when I was like 7, I knew who Zig Ziglar was and I grew up with that. But then I also grew up watching what that did to him. And so when I got out into public accounting, I mean, I played professional golf through college and everything, and, you know, traveled the country, and then eventually just decided accounting was for me. I loved it. I got into this firm, and you're doing tax returns, but these are real people. And I think a lot of times the people who go into accounting, and nothing wrong with that, you don't have that business background. You kind of have the accounting background. So it doesn't seem as real. But to me, it was very real. And it's like you're looking at these numbers of these businesses that could do better, and we're not actually helping them. I mean, we're filing their returns, and their returns are fine, but you're not actually giving them the knowledge we have as accountants to help them get better. And to me, I just couldn't do it. Like, that's too real to me, because I know had my dad been better at budgeting, his business probably would have been fine. And so, you know, that was really the motivation, is I want to go and I want to help the entrepreneur who loves to cook to actually have a sustainable business.
Yeah, I love it. All right, good. And you know, it's sometimes the pain of things that we need to watch, that we need to walk through and see, are what drives us, which I think is important.
Well, absolutely. And I think, you know, when COVID hit, for me, it was so real, because all of a sudden you had all of your clients in the same situation that I had seen as a kid. And whether they realized it or not, I mean, we're, you know, probably 90% restaurants. And so April of 2020 was a huge gut check for me, because it was like, what do you do? And, you know, we right away kind of threw all of our resources out there. We did free webinars. We just have been trying to be like, you know, the pillar of light to get them through it, and not charging at all, you know, just trying to get everyone through it. Because the thing that people don't realize is, as an entrepreneur, this is your life. Like, there is no, I'm going to go do something else. There is, you know, you have to figure it out.
It is.
And so, I mean, I'm happy to say I think a lot of people made it, but, you know, I think it's been a long road for entrepreneurs.
What's one of the things you learned most about yourself during this past year?
I think, you know, to really trust your gut, I think was a big one. You know, right away we sort of threw out on a whim, like, we're going to do a cash flow mastermind for the next, you know, a few weeks. And you didn't really know if people were going to be interested, but the response was overwhelming. So I think it was definitely like, trust your gut. If you feel like people are feeling something, you know, don't be afraid to communicate it and post things and just get things out there for people to digest as much as they can.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Tell people who your ideal clients are, and you know, what type of business you can dive into. You said you were 90% restaurants.
I mean, that's sort of just been, I mean, we do, you know, all types of business accounting, but really I think because restaurants have been so complicated in recent years, I mean, going back to your question of the people who try to do it themselves, I think it's hard as a restaurant owner to be able to. You just have too many platforms and too much data being thrown at you. But that being said, you know, we do have a full service tax business as well. But our goal really is beyond tax and bookkeeping, but also, you know, education. So we do try to provide knowledge and assistance in getting better. So I think our ideal clients are usually ones that kind of come to the table with, like, I do have a vision beyond this. You know, I said, very similar to Thomas, like, you have this, but your vision is so much bigger. And I think that's where, you know, we can really assist in getting them there.
I love it. All right. You ready for a quick speed round?
I am.
All right. Favorite book and why?
So I actually like going back to
Hold on. Because I asked Thomas this question. So before we get that, I asked him this picture. And so I'm going to ask you, what does the picture behind you mean to you?
So it's a lake. I love a lake.
Right. It's a lake. It's just like a peaceful
very
lake.
Calm. After COVID, I was like, we need calm, the lake. Yes. So that's where, that is very calming.
All right, good. All right. Now, favorite book and why?
So I actually like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I reread that. And yes, so that is probably my favorite book. Yeah,
I love it. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
So I think a lot of the Tony Robbins quotes. I would say my favorite quote for Tony Robbins is the burn the boats. And, you know, to not be afraid to completely change the past in order to get to where you want to go in the future.
Yeah. My favorite Tony Robbins is success minus fulfillment equals failure, which is one of my favorites. And finish this sentence. One thing everybody needs to do to get their books cleaner and is
check your bank balance every day. It sounds so simple,
Yeah,
but I'm not
that's a good one.
kidding.
Yeah, no, I love it. Tell people how they can connect with you and all your contact information, Anne.
So everything's on our website, so the largogroup.com. We do also have a YouTube channel, and we are on social media, but there's a lot of good information about what's happening with COVID-19. All the resources is all on our website.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure. It was a pleasure getting to know you. I appreciate your insight into, what you're talking about, because I think, accounting is so important. And I think a lot of times people just are not thinking about it as much as they should be thinking about it. So I appreciate you coming and sharing everything with me. Think Community, if you want more information on how to, get your accounting in shape, feel free to reach out to Anne. I always love talking to people who help people grow, give ideas, get them unstuck. As a business coach, I work with people who are successful and get them unstuck all the time. Feel free, anybody who's listening, to go to my website, johndwoskin.com. I give my book and my ebook away for free. And those are great resources to grow your business. And I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Thanks for being a double guest today. That was a lot of fun. Think Community, thanks so much for tuning in. And hold off just a minute. Yep. And we'll see everybody. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you.